Okay, we've got our skirt part made. Now what we want to do is put a bodice together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something like this little halter top. It's going to be a halter top attached to, let me take the shoes off, they keep falling off. We're going to do a little halter top attached with just a little strap. So we're going to do the same thing on this one that we've done on this one. So let me put her back. And how are we going to start that? Well, I shaped the last one sort of like this on copy paper, and I still want that little fold there. So I tested this out, but how are we going to know how we want to make that? And then, well, first thing you do, let me take this off. These are just sitting in here. They're not, I just sewed it together for a picture just so I could post something on the front page. So anyway, these were just leftover pieces that I didn't use on the skirt, so we can actually use these maybe for the strap. We'll see. Anyway, okay, so first thing you want to do is, let me take this off. So we've got our skirt made. That's where we're up to, just our skirt. Okay, so let's take the skirt part off. Well, we can just leave it on. So what we want to do is we want to figure out where we want our bodice to go. So what I did is I just took a piece of copy paper, folded it in half. Get some scissors here. And cut it. Okay, so let's think about where we want that bodice to go. So I'm going to fold it in half. And I pretty much want that bodice to go from shoulder to shoulder. So you have to think about, you have your seam allowances in there too, right? So let's just say this is where her, from the middle of her chest area to here is where her arms would be. So how far down do you want to go? Because we want to make sure we have that fold over. So we want probably with our seam, we want it to go about here and her under her, but we have to realize we have seam allowances. So if we go from, let's just start here. If we go from here and then down to where her shoulders would be, and then off to the side. That's not very neat, but that's basically how you come up with a pattern. So let's test it. So this is where I want my bottom seam to be. This is where I want my shoulder seam, my fold over with the seam allowance. And I want it to sort of curve. So let's test that and see if we like it with our fold over. Okay, let's test that. Okay, way too big. See how much bigger it is? It's never going to fit. So let's shut that back down and let's go back deeper. Let's cut deeper. It's probably still not deep enough. Let's go a little bit deeper. Okay, how about something like that? Let's test that. Oh, still not enough. I guess I should have stuck where that pencil mark was. I already cut it off. I don't know how I got so off the mark. Let's try again. Okay, we're about right here. 1/4 inch seam. We're going to have a 1/4 inch seam here, a 1/4 inch seam here. You don't want too much of her. If I go right to her shoulders, it's going to show a little bit here. We don't really want that much to show. So you want to be low enough to get under her arms, but you want it high enough of a curve so that you can get that nice little turn down when you sew it together. So I think we're pretty close. So, okay, so let's check the back. We're going to need a little bit extra in the back. We're going to go as long as, we're going to make this as long as our skirt. So that'll be the bottom piece. I think we're pretty close. I think we are. Okay, so I'm going to use brown on the top. So I've got my pattern now. So I'm going to cut out 2 pieces, but I'm going to make my bodice as long as my skirt is. So let's see how long my skirt is. So we've got this skirt here, and we want our bodice to be just as long as our skirt piece. So when I make my pattern to put on my fabric, I'm going to have to add 1.25 inches to the back of my pattern. Okay, so if you want a bigger, wider back in the back and not have it tapered off like this, you can just keep it straight across. This one I tapered down a little bit. I don't know if you can see, but I just tapered it down to the back. It's however you want to do it. If you want it straight across, I would taper it down because it just looks cute that way. So taper it down. Okay, so here's my pattern. I'm going to adjust it a little bit here. And that's going to be our pattern. We're going to add about 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch on each side. So I'm going to cut 2 of these. Okay, so let me go get 2 of these cut out and I'll be back. Okay, I ran into a little problem. Because I'm using sample fabrics, I don't have enough brown to do the front and the back of the bodice. So what I'm going to do, I got the 1 piece for the front. I'm going to end up piecing the back pieces together to give it sort of like a artistic flair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half, and I'm going to cut it in like maybe an angle. Maybe we'll cut it in an angle. Or should I go straight up the middle? No, let's do an angle. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is get half of this in one color, and we're going to go half in another. I had to add an extra 1/4 inch on each side because I wasn't exactly even Steven to match the skirt. So let's go ahead and add that 1/4 inch on each side, and then we'll piece it together, and that will be the inside lining of our bodice. So we need to put a seam here, so we need to add 1/4 inch. If it's a little bit off, we can adjust it later. Let me cut that down a little bit. It's way more than 1/4 inch. Okay, so I'm going to just trim that off. Pretty close. Okay, so there's one side. Now we need some white here. That's cream color. And we'll do the same thing on this one. And we'll do the other side this time. Let's do it this way. Okay. So 1/4 inch front and back. Good enough. Cut it out. Quarter inch. Okay, seam allowance. Okay, so as we sew that, it will open and be one piece. Okay, let's move the sewing machine, the ironing board out of the way, and our cutter. stay up without making a lot of noise. Okay, sewing machine. Okay, so we're going to take this piece off, and then our off-white or cream, and we're going to line this up. We're going to have a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so we'll put that there. Pins, can't see them anywhere. Let's take them off. Oops, sorry about that. We'll just put them right there. Glad there wasn't a lot of stuff in that container. Okay, so now we're just going to put a seam in it. 1/4 inch, that's what my machine set for. I don't know what's wrong with this machine. I don't think it likes this thread. This was that dollar thread that I got at one of the fabric stores here. And every time I put it on the machine, it does not like it. Live and learn. Live and learn. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, so you can iron open our seams, and that will be what's going to come over the front. Well, we'll see how it looks. It'll be a surprise. Okay, that's good. So now we're going to sew our front piece and our back piece, and all we're going to do is sew from the top all the way around and then down, just the top piece. That's all we're going to sew. I'm going to change my thread and work on my tension and see if I can resolve this issue. I'll be back. I've got my good brown thread on my serger, so we'll just deal with it for now. And so what I've done is I've just pinned them both together, and we're just going to sew a 1/4 inch all the way around. So let's do that. You might have to lift and turn a little bit when you get to that edging, or that curve in the road. I'm going to back it up a little bit over that seam in the front, just to give it a little reinforcement. You probably didn't need to, I just felt it sort of glitch on me. Okay, so now we've got our bodice for the halter top. And let's turn it around and see how it looks. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to want to do a couple of clips in here. So you're going to want to clip. I clip here. I like a lot of clips. You know, a lot of people say a couple's good enough, but I think everything lays a lot better when everything is clipped. And that extra fabric won't puff up when you just clip it down. Okay, so there's that one, this one, and then this one. Okay, so let's see how we did on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to top stitch this. I'm just going to press it, because what we're going to do is we're going to turn it under, and so we don't want any, I mean, you can do a top stitch if you want a decorative stitching, that's fine, you can, but it's up to you, it's all personal preference. But because I'm going to put straps on and I'm probably going to add some buttons or something decorative, I don't want the decorative stitch. You know what, now that I look at it, I probably should have come over a little bit on that. Oh, we'll see what happens. Where's the doll? Okay, I think it'll be fine once we get the straps in. We'll see. So how did we do on the arms? Pretty good. See how we did that? And here, not quite centered. Let's see what we got. Waist. And then we'll have, I'll see if I can find some real pretty buttons, and we'll have some sleeves here. I think it'll be alright. I should have gone over a little bit more, I think, way over here. Had more of this than this. Yeah, or maybe I should have just done something different. I don't know if I care for that. I'm probably going to take it out and do something different. Or maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I'll see if I can find some buttons that are cute. Okay, alright, well, I don't know if, I'll come back and we'll put the, let me think about this. I might take this out and redo it, do something different. I don't know if I like that or not. Just isn't that attractive. Okay, so, you know, personal preference. I don't really care for it. Not my cup of tea. It was worth trying. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I ended up putting the patch on it, and the outside looks a lot better than the inside, but here's the patch. So, but it does give you a cute idea if you do want to do a design on your bodice. Even if it's something as simple as that, you can do some really, really pretty designs just by doing a little patchwork in the front. So, isn't that cute? And then you can just turn that down and have it brown there with a couple buttons. It's just, there's just so many ideas you can do. Okay, so anyway, that's the wrong side. Let's turn it to the right side. I haven't got them all pulled out from the corners yet. This was just what I did. I just made a mess. I just patched it together by cutting here, and just inserting this one slip of fabric. And there you go. Oops. Okay, so let's put this back where we're going to have it. And since brown's going to be our front, Let's see what it's going to look like. Okay, and then that'll be turned down like that, and then we'll have the, I think that'll be good. It's getting dark. We're supposed to get snow tomorrow again too, so it might be dark in here. I'm trying to do it in the daytime, trying to sew in the daytime where they have a little extra light around here. But that's our bodice. So I'm going to, our next step is I'm going to pull all my edges out as smoothly as I can, and then I'm going to press it, and then I'm going to turn this under here, and I'm just going to tack it in a couple places here and here, and then we're going to add our straps next. But first thing I'm going to do is try and get these out as far as I can and iron it so it's nice and smooth, and then we'll put this on our skirt. I just happened to notice that my skirt is going to be pretty, I'm going to have to turn under quite a bit in the back. I just noticed that. So we're going to be, some of these are overlapping. I don't know how that's going to work on this. I might have overdid this skirt. It looked fine when I started because maybe because I've been putting them back and forth on everything, and it's stretching out a little bit. Okay, so once we do that, I'm going to sew this to this all the way across, and that is going to be the other way. I'm going to sew the brown because that's the front to this, and then we're going to turn that under and whip stitch it, and that's the bodice for this dress, and that's where we are. So complicated way to get there, but basically that's, here's our pattern. That's basically as simple as it is to make the bodice for the doll, however you're going to do it for this outfit. Or you can use a store-bought pattern that has, you know, a regular bodice, because you can always cut the length of the bodice to fit this part of the skirt. Okay, so I'll be back later. Have a good night.